Hello, welcome back to another Tafflicles battle report. Sorry not been around much over the summer with reports. Family stuff, you know, elderly parents, young children, all that kind of thing. And really want to get a game on. And this, Kings of War, is not a game that myself or my friend Chris, who came along for a game, have played before. This report is to give a flavour of the game, to get a feel of how it works. Maybe like to try it yourself. There's a little bit of tactics in there. But mostly it's about how you would start a game of Kings of War and get going with it. So if you haven't played it before, you might find this of interest. It's also quite an amusing game in its own right. And I have to say, if you are looking to... Wow, motorbikes don't normally get traffic here. If you are looking to play a game with someone, one of the problems these days, so many different games, what rules you play? Well, you can pick these up in about 10 minutes. The rules cost me $7.99. It's not bad. And I just use old figures on battle trays, as you will see. So, yeah, give it a go. It gets you up and running, gets you playing the game, and there's still room for tactics and everything. I mean, it's still a proper war game. It's just very simplified mechanics, which I think is a good idea, and I'll probably play this again sometime. In fact, I played a game just last night with my 9-year-old son, and we had a great time. And he actually improvised Tyranids. He's into 40k. I'm trying to weed him off. And one way of doing that was to play a fancy game where you use Tyranids as fire elementals. So the salamanders were the little hormigants, and the fire elementals were Tyranid warriors, and the carnifexes were the greater elementals. It worked great, looked good. In fact, I should probably have photographed that one and made a report, because it was turned out to be quite a good game as well, which I really enjoyed. And I had my little boys rolling dice and all that kind of stuff. Perfect way to spend your Sunday afternoon. Turn the TV off and be a creator and enjoy your families and playing games and battle reports and roll on wargaming. So I hope you enjoy this. Please leave your comments. My good friend Roger is back from his travels soon, hopefully. And we can get on some Ancients gaming and Napoleonics and all the old favourites, all that weird and wonderful stuff we do. Yeah, that's more games to come, and please bear with me. And reports now, term has started again, back onto a regular routine, and I've got lots of things to talk about and games to run. So I hope you enjoy this one, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay, so here's the Dwarf army.
Have a road.
Well, if you like. I'll just run through it quickly. There's Kings of War. I've done unit cards by each one just to help us remember what everyone does. So there's the Dwarf King, 170 points, that's a lot. And he's got the slashing blade, not the dragon breath, that's 5 points. Although now you've got those extra points, I could have the dragon breath. Yes, we'll try the dragon breath, that'd be more fun. Just to see if that's any good. Okay, and then we've got the Warsmith, who's going to be trying to help both. Sorry about the rubbish figures here. Iron Belcher and the organ gun. So that's going to be the cannon, and that's going to be the organ gun. Then we got the unit of Dwarf Berserkers, which are a regiment. Just double check that. Oh no, this is the one. This is the unit who should have the points to have. Seems a real shame not to have the Berserkers. Especially with the cool figures. There we are. No, they're not in it. That was the option I was giving you. You could have one less shooter, one extra attacking unit. But we rolled it off and I ended up with the Dwarves anyway. So there we are. There's the Iron Guard, and they've gone for the two-handed weapons. It's in non-metallic metal, no? Better than most of the units. And over here is a Dwarf Rangers. It's just a troop of Dwarf Rangers with the crossbows. Now, it's, on the rules it says Earth Elementals, so I've gone with a couple of Trolls, it's just a troop of them. And we've got two regiments of ironclad infantry. So we could have gone for a horde, but that's how we got those. It's quite the mix of figures in there. That's what I like about this game, you can just pretty much use any figures. As long as the base is the right size, stick them on. You can see there's some, love the ones from Mr. Tate. Over at Forlorn Hope, beautiful. And I got the rifles, Dwarf Iron Watch rifles. We've gone for a regiment of those, I believe. Yeah. So a bit closer, you can see the points and everything. Okay, so Berserkers aren't going to get to play, but there you go. That's the Dwarf army. And this is the human army. I haven't gone for the name that's in the book. Okay, here's the human forces, or forces of Balisea. This feels like one of those changes, because you need to make something change. Right, so I gave Chris some options here, and he's gone for the extra unit of spearmen. Got rid of the archers, I think. So you can see there, some old figures. Great way of getting the old figures out of the box. And these are based for impetus. So the bases are actually 120 instead of 100 in the rules, so everything's on 120. I don't think it makes any difference. Soon find out. There's the human penitents. I've used the old flagellant figures. I love these. Some of my favourite figures GW ever did. Ever, yeah. And there's a war wizard. Yeah, you can't improve on them. Ever. And the general in this is called a dictator. So what better dictator than the original dictator? So Julius is getting a run out. He's on a round base, but as characters don't have any front, sides, rears, whatever, I don't think it makes any difference. Circle makes sense to me. Not like me and Chris are ones to argue anyway, so what's the problem? Ever, never argue on these things, so it doesn't matter. It's all right. There's a regiment of crossbows. There's the heavy arbalest. He's got piercing 3 and reload. And what I've gone for here is 2 troops of heavy cavalry, the Paladin Knights as they're called in this. See their stats, everything's in the book, and they're accompanied by the standard bearer. So I just put that there, the banner of the Holy Icon. So there's one of my Teutonic Knights. Joined up with these in Pontypridd rugby colours. It's all a bit bizarre, this army. Yeah. A bit random, but that's what I like about this game. Just put some random figures together. And it's fantasy after all. Yeah, so the idea of these is they're not very expensive units. They can run around and try and take out things like war guns. So as I see it, anyway, so that's the human army, or Balisea. And we've ended up with 1,200 points. I think it was actually 1,220. 1,225, I'm told. There you go, 1,225 each. Just the way it worked out. And I think it's a little bit different in the end, about 1,250. So there you go. Chris, talk us through the thought out. Oh, is this scenery as well? Is this part of our game? We're down in Firestorm. How cool are those buildings?
There's a few more coming up some more.
No, there'll be plenty, mate. Fantastic.
Thought we put a little road on with a few bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Human town.
Yeah, human town, there we are.
A couple of forests, a steepish hill in the...
Steepish. So hang on a second, we have to go through the proper thing now. Is it difficult?
Is it an obstacle?
Is it an obstacle?
Or is it just...
Or is it decorative? No, there's one other though. It's difficult, impassable. Is it impassable,
yeah.
difficult, an obstacle, or
No,
decorative?
That's my gallstones. That is.
Oh, that's
they're
your
impassable.
They're So what is it? It's passable then, is it?
Yeah.
You have to see the height in this game.
Do you?
Yeah, just so you know.
Height 1, I think, is...
Infantry's height 1, yeah. Yeah, I'll give you a height 2 with the second lump on the top.
Okay.
Hey, nothing's going to get behind there anyway.
Height 1 then, yeah?
Oh, that's a hill as well, is it?
And
that's a very shallow hill, 2 woods. All right, so as you can see, we put a lot of thought and time into the scenery. Let's see how this goes. Let's go to deployment. Go on, Chris, let's have a scenario. Anything but a 1. I don't want... Oh, another 1 again.
1. It's telling us we won't
win,
I've
got to play 1. We've rolled it twice now. Let's just kill each other. Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry. There's no cheating in this. It's all one take. Scenario, kill. Oh, this is going to go down well.
That's all we want to do.
Objective. At the end of the game, add up the cost of all enemy units you routed. This is your score. Your opponent does the same and you compare scores. If the difference between the scores in favour of a player is at least 10%, so that's 125 in our case, of the total cost of the armies, that player wins. When it says total cost of the armies, I mean it means each army rather than total of both. Otherwise, the game's a draw. Example, a game with 2,000 points, you need at least 200 more points than your opponent to win. All right? Kill each other.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So we're just going towards the end of deployment. I started off with the Rangers going in the wood.
Well, that's him.
And then, didn't really know where Chris was going. He was building up some infantry in the centre over there.
Must be wizard.
I came over to this side thinking I'd get some inflating fire from the rifles. My trolls are going to shamble up, which means they can't double march. And I've left myself a bit wide. My plan with the guns here is if one attacks this one, they can shoot, and if this one gets attacked, that one can shoot. The Warsmith's giving both a little buff.
I'm going to get a cook.
And then Chris sneaked on his cavalry right over there with his general as well. So if I'm going to castle up in the middle, maybe refuse this flank. Just a quick run through again. There's the rifles. You can see I've got the stats on here. So they get their regiments, they're going to get 10 attacks. These earth elementals I'm using trolls. They're their regiment as well. They get 9 attacks. A horde. Then we've got a horde of the dwarf ironclads. 25 attacks if they can get them in. Very tough. Going to try the cannon and the organ gun. Yeah, well, if I knew my tactics, you could listen in. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Trying to remember that Wellington quote from Waterloo, but there we are. My hair knew what my head was thinking, I'd shave it off, something like that. There we go. And there's the tough guy, that's me, Ivor Goldcock. Famous dwarf of 1,000 battles. The envy of all his opponents. Right, we go to photo coverage, I think.
It's only this big.
Okay, so turn 1 and we roll off, and Chris is amazing. 2 beats my 1, so he goes first. And he's immediately lining up the cannons for the long-range shot. His overall plan is on this side, just going to pin me with shooting. And then on the right-hand side, currently off camera, the cavalry's going to sweep round, try and roll up my flank. And I don't think I've deployed the best way to actually do much about that. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on the details too much, but he's fired a cannon on the left, got a lucky hit, then rolled a 6, then rolled it for the D3 wounds, had loads of wounds, 5 wounds on the trolls. They almost ran away, but not quite. So there's the overall situation. See on the left, I'm starting to take some damage off the cannon. My artillery, I haven't placed them very well. Thought the wood would protect them. Crossfire. And I'm going to rely on my scouts in the wood on the right to hold that up, along with the unit of guard on the right and Ivor Goldcock, the general. And the middle, the rest of my army is pretty much doing nothing but look over there. So I'm thinking I've got to get some counterplay and start pushing up on the left, but then the trolls got clobbered. So, bit of a mess, really. Okay, there's another view. As you can see, that rolling charge on my right. The cannons did open up and did do some damage. If you look in the centre there, we just picked a couple off the, what I call them, flagellants, the penitents, which is good news because it's wavered them so they can't advance next turn. So here you see that from a different angle. The buildings on the right, the cavalry on the far right, steaming through the cover at march speed, double forward. Turn 2. Oh, wow, that bit's a bit blurry. So going across the cavalry. If you look at the top right corner, they've gone all the way to the end of the table. My guard are now nudging backwards quickly, realising they're outflanked and I've got no air support. And his wizard has jumped up to try and clear the woods with a little bit of a firebomb. Should do a few wounds, not worried. Kaboom! There's 2 wounds. I can deal with that. Only 2 wounds. And 11 on the rally test because they're a troop. That's 13. And they've gone. So now I have a hole right next to the cannons. I think to remember spells, they're not affected by cover. So he's hitting on 4s. 2 wounds is probably about right. It's the 11 that did me. Wow, this game can really change fast. Okay, so there's that big gap now next to my cannons. We're just Ivor sitting in the wood, going to have to defend. Turn 2 over to me. So once again, you see the guard. We're thinking about what do we do? If we back off with the guard, the cavalry's going to whack them. And there's more cavalry on the far right. This is the dilemma. If Ivor goes storming in to stop his guard infantry, his halberdiers there, he's probably going to get surrounded. Thinking back, I think I should have just stood there and done the dragon breath. But I just sat in the wood with Ivor because he can take on, like, definitely on that mage, survive the guards. And then I thought, well, I think this flank is gone. I think the guards have gone. The game itself's looking pretty difficult. So I think I probably should have stalled. But I went for the other option. Let's take a few of them with us. Okay. So you can see there, the guard have charged up and taken on his guard. Ivor has gone in to take on the magic user. Should duff his him up easy enough. And over on this left-hand side, I realise he's just not coming on this flank. And my guys are doing nothing. The trolls are backing off because I'm afraid they're running off the table. It's a kill game. The rifles have swung around. They're going to come around and try and shoot up that cavalry, which is swinging around the far side. And my horde of dwarves has moved up through the middle to take on all fire and to swing round into the flank. So what I'm hoping to do here is a big sweeping manoeuvre through the centre, swing round to the right and take out those units which have been outflanking me. As you might realise by now, I don't play dwarves very often. Dwarves with their little legs and slow movement are not the ideal units for sweeping flank movements. I think I should hold up in the middle, bunk it up, shot, into dwarf fashion and offered no flanks or anything and let them come to me. It's not in my nature. I'll have to learn if I'm going to use this army again. So Ivor's gone in, whacked 5 wounds on the mage. The red dots, by the way, are the wounds this turn. And then the markers show the overall. So wherever you see red dots, that means blood has been spilt this turn. The guard go into the guard. There we go. And he's rolled low 3. Well, I've rolled low for him. So the wizard goes, ha ha ha, so you've whacked me a few times. I might be bleeding, but it's just a flesh wound. Then a similar number of wounds on the guard. I'm hoping for a double 6, but they're a regiment. So the best I think I could probably get is a waver. Don't get that either. Another low rolls. They're now looking at us going, ha ha, it's now our turn. And we've got cavalry to support us as well. Turn 3, back over to the dreaded humans. And he's going to start shooting at these now. They present a threat. Stops my cannons getting blown up. And hopefully they're big enough to take the shooting damage and swing round into the combat. It's quite a lot. 5 more wounds. But they waver on 21, so they're not in danger yet. And hopefully they can still swing round and help. And I'm hoping that Chris just sits on his back rank watching the battle. And I can come round and destroy all his units on the right. Because those cavalry look impressive, but they're only troops. So here we go. Slam. Everything slams in, not surprisingly. The the penitents are now unwavered, so they can advance. They've charged in. The wizard decided why would he charge in. He only has 1 attack dice. He's popped off to fire another fireball at someone. Or a lightning bolt. And obviously the cavalry and the halberds have gone in against the guard. And get this other cavalry around the right flank. This flank is really, really stuffed. There's no one defending the guns. Okay, so they do 7 damage. Julius Caesar couldn't quite get... I think he probably could have got there, but he's kept his general out for the leadership bubble. Or he just gone in, got more attacks. One than any harm. 7 wounds. They need to roll below about 7. Otherwise they're out of there. Boom! 10. They're running. But Ivor stands there, and Ivor says, "No, you stand. You are dwarves. You do not go anywhere." And they re-roll it because of his inspiring presence and get a 5 and say, "Sorry, boss, we're staying." So they back off. Ivor backs off after taking 2 wounds, shrugs it off. Turn 3, over to the dwarves. And what do? You can't run, you dwarves. There's nowhere to hide. Was tempted to stick Ivor in the wood. But then, because he's been knocked back, he's disordered, so he can't use his shooting attack, the Dragon Breath. So it just means he's going to keep getting hit in the wood. Could have stalled things maybe an extra turn. Anyway, Ivor's upstairs and stuff, and he's going to go in, and the Iron Guard got no choice, really. If we get lucky and destroy both those units, I mean, the one facing Ivor and the one in the middle, and get some heat on his wizard, it's not so bad suddenly. 2 troops of cavalry, maybe we can hang on. And also, the rifles in the middle, you can see, are now coming round to start shooting at the cavalry. They've done their double moves. They won't be shooting this turn. And the big horde in the centre has swung around to try and, just help out, really, because this is where the battle is. And I'm noticing the humans are still sitting on the back rank. So they might still pull this off. Okay, so there's a good overall overview. And you can see the guns here also coming back and turning. The threats all coming from his flank. So if he does come in now, it's going to be rifles and 2 cannons. The problem is, if he comes through the wood, there's nothing in the way anymore. Okay, so as you can see, the shooting has gone in on the knights. Unfortunately, I think the flame cannon finally went to go. That seems a lot better to me than the big cannon. I don't know if we're playing the cannon wrong, but this one, you get 15 attacks. That was great. So anyway, so they've started to do some wounds on that cavalry. So maybe starting to hold the flank, and you can see Ivor's gone in, as have the Iron Guard. Look at that. Oh, the shooting first, 7 on those. Nice high roll. They break on like 5. I think it's like 12 wavering, 14 to run. Rolled 4. That's so frustrating. They've got to seen those off. The gun's going to be freed up to turn back to the front, perhaps. Not sure. Anyway, so the guard gone in. You can count the 4 red dots there. And you also see 2 1s on the dice. I rolled double 1 for their courage. So they're going nowhere. Even if I'd done 100 hits, that double 1 means you always stand. So now for the dwarves, their only chance was to kill them in 1 round. And then be able to face the cavalry. And, yeah, could have won. Ivor's gone steaming in. He's got the penitence up to 8. You are mere peasants. Just storming through the peasants. And a double 6. They are terrified of Ivor. Ha ha ha. So they are out of there. So Ivor's done his job. He's broken through that bunch of peasants. Sorry about the switch to my camera phone. Now I should have stuck with the video camera, I think, the whole way through. Anyway, turn 4. And everything. I mean, everything charges the poor old Iron Guard dwarves there. They hit from the front, the flank, the rear. And it's a general v general challenge as Caesar charges Ivor. Big mistake, Julius. Big mistake. And finally, this is, if he left this another term, I think I could have sneaked this one. But finally now the humans do come off their back rank and decide to join the battle. And that's a very big flank I'm showing. It is outside charge range, but only for now. Alright, so I don't think we even bothered rolling. Oh, did we roll them? It really didn't matter. It was like 50 odd attacks. And as long as he got 4 or 5, he need double 1 to stand. So we just did the rolls and didn't get double 1. Rolled like 10 and 9 with the rerolls. So, yeah, they weren't surviving that. The other thing we almost forgot was it did look a bit ridiculous because all the 3 human units are facing each other. And that seemed a bit daft. Realise you win a melee, you reform, face whichever way you like. So that's my last chance. Gone. Ivor taking a couple of hits off Julius. And the big horde is now swinging around into action. Yeah, looking at this. Yeah, maybe should have just kept running. Might have got there. That wizard is there, firebombing, saying he's looking at the whole lot of them. Anyway, my turn 4, dwarves, turn 4. Go, boys. So as you can see, yeah, we've corrected that. They've all refaced. Ivor is pretty much on his own. He's got the horde there. Now the horde you measure from the centre. I'm looking at this again. I wonder if the horde could have charged Caesar. Definitely looks within 8. See, 8 is so short. And there's a double-sized base. And we're using bigger bases, which doesn't help in this situation. So, you're going to stop that, I'll tell you. Although he has got a lot of wounds on. If I could just... See, I've charged Caesar, I think, to try and kill his general for the points and lose the reroll. But looking at it again, I wonder if I should just charged into the bottom cavalry, broken nose, and then pursued behind his flank so he couldn't charge Caesar and the next turn dragon breathed him. Yeah, that would have been better. I was going to be excited at this stage and a bit fatalistic, a bit dwarf. We're all doomed. We're all doomed. So here we go. You can see the cavalry momentably up on the right. You might just about see Ivor taking on Caesar, which I just said I think was probably an error. And now the dwarves in the centre worrying about their flank. Yeah, and things are starting to come in to take on the horde, which, as tough as they are, don't really want to take on a whole army. Okay, so back to Turn 5. Oh, by the way, see, Ivor did a couple of whacks on Caesar, but not enough. He's looking at this now, just thinking, it's going to overrun me. Where do you want to start? Yeah. Oh, sorry, what I didn't mention there was the Dwarf Horde. This is where I'm kicking myself now. They moved back. I thought, well, there's no point in going round any further to the right. The flank's gone anyway. It's just throwing good money after bad, reinforcing failure and all that, and just making a big flank. So by going directly backwards, you can go a half move, which is towards like whole 2 inches. It puts them into the front arc for all his units. Because if I pivoted to right, the unit on the left would have got a flank, and etc. Anyway, so that's an attempt to form a new line anchored on the wood, and hopefully take it from there. So Ivor has gone. Ivor's been charged. No, I think we missed the turn marker changing. Anyway, so Ivor's been charged by both those units on his own. He could take it. Yeah, maybe he can't. So he's up to 9 total hits. He rolled a 7, 16. Bad news for Ivor. He goes to Valhalla to drink with the gods and then come back again and lead another army to disaster. Alright, so that's the general gone. And the Horde's looking very open in the middle. I have shored up this flank, but he's no longer coming around the back of the wood because he got the charge. So up towards Ivor, if you like, and he's now coming around the top or through the wood. The Horde is sitting there with the unit behind it. Well, 2 basically to its left flank, 2 to the front. And they move at 2 when they go backwards. And Chris was quibbling about the -1 to hit if the cavalry charged through the wood. You reckon you could charge without going through the wood? It's like, mate, you really needn't worry about things like that. Yeah, so you've got the guns. Because if I get the gun into the wood, it can shoot through. That's the idea. It's grasping at straws. Okay, so it's taking more damage there. I think that was shooting on the cannon. These pictures aren't very good. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. One thing I did forget, which, well, it wouldn't have changed overall, is the blinking weaponsmith. For one, he makes the flame cannon elite, which means rerolling 1s on the to hit chart. But also he could have blocked, he could have chaffed up a bit. He could have got in the way, maybe fought someone. He's quite tough. He is a hero. But there we are. Things beyond saving. There's the overall situation. The Horde in the middle, trapped. Rifles have come across to help against an enemy which is no longer there. I've really got to get used to lack of movement with Dwarves if I'm going to use them again. And over to Chris's turn 6. Could be the last turn. Measuring it all up. This is where he's quibbling about the wood. Right, man, you don't need to quibble about the wood. Is that trying to move and swim it? No, that's movement. Charging, charge straight. Anyway, what difference does it make? Everything's hit the Horde. Brave and stoic and doughty as they are, with Ivor dead, it's just too much for them. And they take a shed load. You can add up all those if you want to. It puts them up to needing a double 1. Or maybe 3 might have been okay. And they roll more than that. And at that point I say, okay, that's the game. So just a few more pictures of those lovely samurai dwarves from Forlorn Hope. I really enjoy painting those. They are great. Did some for the website as well. Very proud of them. And a quick talk about the game. First time I played Kings of War. I know this is old news for people. It's been on a couple of years, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good fun. It doesn't have the real complexity and depth that you get with something like Ninth Age or Warhammer, but it's still the basic principles of maneuver, deployment. The dice can be radical. That morale test is brutal. There you go. Yeah, I think we'll play this more. What was really the highlights of the game, I think, are the ease to learn. If you play a couple of turns, you really are up to speed with it. It's quite simple, all the mechanics and everything, which I think is great. Especially these days where the people are playing more and more different games. There's a situation at the moment where I think the hobby's becoming a bit splintered. In some ways, as a misquote Charles Dickens, it's the best of time for wargamers and the worst of times for wargamers. there are so many great games out there now. If you want to play whatever period, there's like 8 different rule sets or 10 different rule sets. So the days you can just walk into a club and say, I want a game of fantasy, and everyone just assumed it was Warhammer, have gone. Napoleonics, it's not necessarily going to be, I don't know, DBA, wherever it used to be, with Ancients or something. So to find games that people all play is quite tricky. So something you can learn quickly and put an army together quite quickly. I know there's guidelines, number of figures, but as you saw, I just put a few on each base and that worked fine. So a lot of plus points, and probably give this a go again. Let's see. But soon, I think normal service will be resuming, and Roger's hopefully back from his travel soon, and we get some games of Balisea and the like, and Napoleonics. I'm also joining a Blood Bowl League, which should be interesting. I haven't played that for a long, long time. Used to enjoy it very much. And we'll also maybe a couple more games of Kings of War or something. Please leave some comments if there's anything you want to try. Summer's over. Back to wargaming season and more reports. So I hope you enjoyed that, and give it a go. It's an easy game, why not? Anyway, in the meantime, till speak again, keep rolling.